That old Akai vintage CD player from 1986 that I worked on in the last video has been playing flawlessly. I've had it playing 24 hours a day since I repaired it, just doing a good, thorough test run. And guess what? The incandescent bulb that lights up the display failed. So I think we'll replace it with LEDs. So you guys remember this Akai CD player? Of course you do. I just worked on it the other day. Set it all up, everything's looking great, but the light bulb burned out. No display. I've been running this thing 24 hours a day for the last couple days just to make sure everything's good, and the light went out. So we're gonna change out the light and show you how to change out the light on one of these type of units that uses an incandescent backlight, and maybe we'll upgrade it to an LED while I'm at it, but we'll see. So first of all, we need to determine what voltage of light this used. These ones used a very simple design, very easy to replace light bulb, much easier than say JVC or many of the other brands. This is the wires to the light bulb here, and yeah, 12 volts. So it's a 12 volt bulb, and it's just a bare lead bulb. I had to give it to Akai because they had probably the easiest to change bulb. We'll turn the power off first, so we don't have to worry about shorting anything out, and it's just a matter of turning and lifting. There's the bulb. I love the simplicity of this design. And we just simply undo the wires here and go find a new 12 volt bulb. Now this is the point where I decide, am I going to put another incandescent bulb in, or am I going to upgrade this to LED? The wires just unwrap like that. And then we can pull the bulb through just like that. Probably the easiest lamp to replace, and Akai did this on a number of different units, but I figured I would show this one just because this is something you don't see that often. Usually the lamp is soldered in place. It's not something that the average person can just change in like 5 minutes. Well, this is one that you can. Let me find a new bulb. I'm sure I've got one that will work in this situation. Oh cool, look what I found when going through my my parts bin. You know what this is, right? This is a Panoplex display. Let's see if it's working. Let's see if this thing's got any gas in it. I'm going to tickle it with just one side of a neon transformer. Obviously, if I put the whole 1.6 kilovolts across here, this thing will probably blow up. But if I just take one side and tickle it, I should get light. And I do. So, this Panoplex display is still functional. Excellent. I'm just using a neon output, just one lead, right? This is 1.6 kilovolts. A little spark here. That's for neon tube. So let me just unplug that. I know that that little display works, which is kind of cool. That's a kind of a neat find. It's brand new. I think I should wrap that up. The pins are kind of a bit bent on it, but they should straighten out quite nicely. These things are as rare as hen's teeth. Little numerical 7-segment 2-digit display, like my clock uses. I think my clock uses ones that are a little bit bigger than this though. Here's an odd shaped bulb, 45 watts. Wonder what that would have been used in. 12 volts, 45 watts. Probably not even giving it full brightness here. Let's see. So it draws 3.35 amps at 12 volts. I don't know what that would have been from. Maybe a photocopy or something. It's kind of a unique shaped globe on this bulb. This is a box full of old parts that were given to me. Has a bunch of light bulbs in it. Unfortunately, most of the ones I've tried so far are burnt out. Oh look, an NE2 neon bulb. I'm sure that one works, but that needs a little bit more voltage than what we have available. There's the little neon power supply I used to verify that that Panoplex display was working. This is for neon, small neon signs. I use these when I repair like beer signs and stuff, right? Take out the big old transformer and put in one of these because they're pretty efficient. But I just wanted to note that. Made in Canada. Love it. I've had these for years. I've got one in one of my neon clocks right now, and it's been going for many, many years. All I had on hand was a small 12 volt bulb with a threaded base. Now I could put a couple of LEDs in here. I could easily fit white LEDs in here in series, and that would add up to about 12 volts, which would of course do the job. So I have a choice. Either I want to transfer, I'll just transfer the wires from this one, just for a couple bare wires that I can put in here and keep this thing authentic using the original clip, or I could put LEDs in. It's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, because I think that there's enough room in the display. If I take the circuit board out here, I could very easily put LEDs in place of the one incandescent bulb, and I think that might be the route that I take, because this should just lift out. But if I take out these two screws that hold this display in place, I should be able to replace this LED or this incandescent bulb with white LEDs, which I have lots of white LEDs kicking around here. So maybe I will do that on this one. And yeah, I know it's not keeping it authentic, but white LEDs in series should do the job quite nicely. And now this whole display will lift out for easy working. Now that I've got the display lifted out, I can lift the backing off of it. The diffuser should lift off here. Now normally LEDs aren't as diffused as incandescent, but the fact that I've got all this room in here, I could point the LEDs towards the back so that they reflect off the back here, and that would avoid the hot spot. And just kind of have them pointed at different directions inside this cavity, and it should light up the back of this display. I think that might look okay, and I think that's the road I want to go down, just because I think it'll look cool, and it makes this thing a little bit more modern than it was, and it'll never burn out again. This old Cobb style light is perfect. I had a couple of these things that I bought when LEDs were, you know, the latest greatest thing, and probably paid like $15 for this thing. But it didn't throw out enough light to do much, so it's been sacrificed, and I've been stealing the LEDs out of it for a while. I actually had two of these, but I've been using these LEDs for other projects for quite a while now, and I've been getting fairly good results in other projects that I've used them in. They're not super bright like these ones here, so they work out quite well in these backlight projects for displays. And because I'm putting them in series, I don't even need to put a dropping resistor on here, because LEDs themselves take about 3 volts. So we'll put 4 of them in here. That way we're not going to overdrive them. And we should get enough light from them without having to put a dropping resistor in. So I'm just going to wire these all cathode to anode, and that puts them all in series. The leads here should be long enough, if I bend them over, that I can just stick them together. So we just bend all the leads over. We'll do that on all of them, and then just tack these things together. And we'll plug them in or hook them up and see how they look brightness wise. Then I can put this thing back together and promptly put it on a shelf where it'll be forgotten about until I need a single disc CD player for something. If my bench looks a little bit dark on this side, it's because one of my 42 watt compact fluorescent bulbs that I've had in here finally bit the dust. This bulb has been in my garage here since I built the place in 2002. You guys have seen this one a few times, I think. It's so old that the plastic, I've already fixed the inverter on it once. I don't know whether the inverter failed again or whether the tube is gone this time. But I fixed connections on the inverter when it went bad once. It's so old that the heat from the 42 watt fluorescent had cracked all the plastic, and it all crumbled away. So for the past several years, that lamp has just been hanging from the wires going to the inverter. But it's finally, after all these years, it's finally died. That has to be a record, because that lamp is 19 years old, I guess. We're at the end of 2021 now. That was put in, one of the original lights that was put in when the house was built, and that was 2002. So 19 years is how long that bulb has been running. That has to be a record. I put all the LEDs in series, anode to cathode. Okay, we got our cathode over here negative and our anode over here positive. If I give it 12 volts, we should have some nice bright light. Well, as bright as these LEDs ever were, which should be just about right for a backlit display. As you can see, they are actually quite bright. And they're not drawing excessive current because they are all in series with each other. There's a 3-volt drop across each of the LEDs, so 12 volts divided by 4 is 3 volts each, right? Because there's 4 LEDs. So that should work. I just got to find which one of these is positive and negative on the CD player. I'm going to take it right back to the source, which is these two contacts over here. So I'll turn on the power and we'll measure the voltage and see which one is positive and which one is negative. So my meter on here. So the positive is on the outside because I had my negative probe at the end here. So the outside one is positive and this one is negative. As you can see there. So now we know the orange wire is going to go to the outside, the white wire is going to go to the inside. I can bring the wires through one of the holes that's already on the bottom of this unit. There's actually 2 holes there already, so I can just feed the 2 wires right through these existing holes, and we'll connect it up to the source of power over here. And then I'll put the cover back on and we'll see how well it illuminates the display before mounting it back in the cabinet. Now, I usually like to keep lights authentic, and I could have put that incandescent bulb in here, but you know, why not upgrade it to LED? It's certainly not going to hurt anything upgrading it to LED. It's going to produce less heat, last longer, and as long as it aesthetically looks good, then there's no problem doing this. And a lot of people prefer LED upgraded lights anyway. If I decide to sell this, I can advertise it as LED upgraded, because incandescent bulbs burning out all the time is something that people, you know, don't really like. Although I think aesthetically incandescent will always look better. I actually run a few incandescent bulbs in my house on my stereo stand that I put together last week. Put all my stereo components on there. I have a nice floor lamp, cheap floor lamp that just sits beside it so I can see what I'm doing. And I've got an LED light, and the light that shines up on the ceiling, I've actually got an LED light that I can change the color. I got multicolor LEDs in my living room that I can make white or make any color I want, you know, for the mood. If I'm sitting listening to music, it's nice to have dim, different colored lights sometimes. But the lamp that shines on the stereo is a incandescent, and it's one of the Edison type bulbs, so it really looks kind of neat. Now I think if I point these LEDs to the back and put the display on, it might look better reflecting off the back. We'll see how it looks. Nice thing about this is I can always try it again. If I'm not happy, I can relocate them. So we'll pop the brittle plastic catches back in, try not to break them, and we'll take a look at how this thing looks. And it actually doesn't look bad. Just like that. That actually looks good. No hot spots because the LEDs are facing to the back, so they're being reflected off of this light reflector in the back, and that actually looks very good. So I don't need to do anything else. I don't need to reposition them. I have nice even light, LED light, no heat, never gonna burn out. And there's my CD player working again. Gotta like it. Let's remount the display, and then I can put this thing together for the last time, and hopefully you guys will never have to see it again. Although, as I say, I'll be using this unit here. I don't think I'll be selling this one. I'll be using this one for listening to single discs and so forth. I've got my two 200 disc changers in the house that are I use if I want to listen to music in random. But there's times where I just grab a CD because I don't have every one of my CDs in those changers. In fact, it's just all my jazz CDs are in the changers. When I want to listen to an old rock CD, for example, I'd use a single disc player, and this one may very well find its way into my system, sitting on one of the bottom shelves, so that I can just pop a disc in when I want to listen to something that's not in the changer. I can just pop a disc in and do that. So there it is, LED upgrade. That looks every bit as good, I think, as the original lamp looked. Maybe a little bit more to the green shade as opposed to the yellow shade, but I think that looks great. It's very readable, it's bright, it's not overly powerful, and it's even lighting. So there you go. That's how to upgrade one of these old CD players, or a radio, or anything that's using an LCD screen with a backlight. If you want to put LEDs in, measure your voltage and divide 3 volts by the voltage. So if it was 15 volts, you'd put 5 LEDs in series. No dropping resistor required. When I measured this on my power supply, it's drawing 10 milliamps, which is right what you would want for an LED of this style. So we don't have to worry about the LEDs failing or burning out or drawing any excessive current. They're going to last forever. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.